Hi there. Have you ever seen only part of a movie, but then some line that you did see from it stuck with you so long that it ended up shaping how you go at things? Because if the answer to that is yes, then you're not alone. I have not seen the movie We Bought a Zoo. However, I have seen the tail end of the movie We Bought a Zoo. And in it, at some point, Matt Damon, like, apparently it was his thing with his wife where it's like you just need either 5 or 10 seconds of bravery and then, go after it, right? And if you don't like you don't even understand how many times I've thought about that. And I'm thinking about that right now as I am sitting here recording video number 19, and it's it's been incredibly therapeutic to record these, but also very nerve wracking because I'm sitting here full of doubt that things will happen. But then, like, the things that I want will happen. But then I know if I just keep moving towards it, then it'll probably end up happening. Because every single thing that I have accomplished, I doubted would happen. I was going through my social media yesterday to like kind of see what I had on there from like a couple years ago. And back in, I want to say it was the end of 2022, shortly after I started doing real estate, I started a meetup group to try and network myself. And when I created that first event, I really thought like nobody was going to show up. I was fully prepared to just go to the museum alone on that lovely Sunday afternoon. And then over 600 people RSVP'd. And don't worry, 600 people didn't show up, but about like 120 people did show up. And like, I volunteered at events before, but I had never run one, let alone, I was expecting like maybe a handful of people, not that many people. I had doubt anybody was going to show up, and yet so many people showed up. I only ran like 12 events over 18 months, and I grew my group to over 6,000 members before I closed it down. 6,000. And a lot of those folks came again and again, which was very flattering. Everything that I've done, like the first time I led a team, I was full of doubt there, but I crushed it at that. First time I led a dev session as a product manager, I was full of doubt then, crushed it there. First time I'm recording outside at night, hopefully I can lighten up the background, or else it just looks like I'm sitting here in the dark abyss, but I am actually sitting at the promenade. And maybe one of the other videos I will have the promenade as the backdrop, but for right now, it's just darkness that I will lighten up, and you will see partially a gate and a brick wall, but like a historic brick wall, right? So it counts because it's New York. And every time I go to record, every single time I go to record, I'm sitting here full of doubt until I click record, and then I'm like, well, hell, you gotta yap. And if there's one thing I can do, it is talk. And sometimes I can talk myself out of the doubt. Sometimes I end up talking myself into the doubt, which we don't like. But then, just as good as I am at talking myself into the doubt, I can usually talk myself out of the doubt. Sometimes it's piled on too thick, but that's when you nap and then you try again. And I think it's just important to realize that everybody, not everybody, because I can't speak for everybody, but most people that I know struggle with doubt in some capacity. Sometimes people are really confident. Sorry if you can hear a lot of traffic. Sometimes people are really confident and they, like their little Debbie Downer might be just like a tiny whisper in the background. And then sometimes my Debbie Downer, though, she is a full grown, like, Jack and the Beanstalk type, like, giant, right? And sometimes you just gotta tell her to like sit in the corner and shut her yap because like it's time to get to work, right? And so that's what I'm doing right now at like 10 o'clock at night while staring off at the city. And it's a great view. I feel bad that I don't show it in this. Maybe I'll turn the camera at the very end of the video when I ask the question. Although it'll probably mess with the optics, but it's fine. Um, so if you're thinking about doing something, but you're like, oh, I don't know if it'll work, there are plenty of things that you're going to try that aren't going to work. But would you rather regret trying it and then it not working out, or not trying it at all? Because if you don't try it at all, then it's just going to continuously gnaw at you until eventually you're like, oh, either you're like, I should have tried that, and you're on your deathbed wishing, or you try it, you fail, but then you realize, hey, well, at least I tried it. And then you learn your lesson for the next time that you try to do anything remotely near it. Or in my case, for the next time I have a client trying to do anything remotely near it, then all of a sudden I've got some handy dandy facts. Like, even just the most random experiences that you don't think are important. I went to summer camp when I was a kid multiple times, but like for the entire summer, like 9 week long summer camps. And a couple of the summers I was obsessed with woodworking, and like at least 4 or 5 nights a week I would spend like an hour in the wood shop, trying to make a little bunny on a surfboard or what have you, as I worked up my way in like skills. And I remember then, like a few years later, I'm in college, and I went to a commuter school, so I lived at home. But I was sitting at a kitchen table with my a couple friends and this friend's mom, who she ended up asking me. She was like, Haley, like, how would you recommend we raise like my friend's little brother's bed at the dorm? And then I thought about it for a second, then I gave her a couple options, and she was like, that's what my father-in-law said, who's a carpenter too, but I was just curious your take. And then like I looked at my two friends who had known me like at least a handful of years at this point, and they were like, who are you and how did you come up with those solutions? And then I'm just sitting there like, did you not tinker around with things as a kid? Because I did. Like, I one of my best friends, she I met her doing like robotics. We were on the robotics team in like when we were like 15, 16. We were moral support for the robotics team, but I had a great time at those competitions. And more importantly, here I am, 32, and a friend I made when I was 15 is still one of my closest friends. So thank you, robotics. Now I'm going to turn it so that way you get a view of the thing that I'm staring at, since I guess that that's not fair. And I'll ask you the final question when I do. What are you letting your Debbie Downer stop you from doing? And how can you tell her to sit in a corner and shush? Because I'm sitting here at night over a highway overpass recording. So whatever you're stopping yourself from doing, you can do it too. And have a great day, night, morning, whatever time of day you're watching this.